Okay. It's going to wait a couple more seconds here to start yapping to make sure all the broadcasts are connected and everything's working. It seemed to work last time. We did this for the 40-minute drive from Olympia up to Tacoma the other day. Seemed like the broadcast stuck at all the locations except for one. But hey, like I said in that one, we got to start somewhere. Welcome to the 4th of July. And boy, I don't know wherever you're at in the country, if you happen to see this, it is, God, what is it here? It is 83 degrees my ass. Feels like 95, but I think it's going to crawl into the 90s. And if it's one thing us Washingtonians don't like, it's a hot day. We like it cold. We like it mild. We like it a little bit chilly at night. At least this guy does. That's why I loved growing up on the water, because you knew at night if you were next to the salt water and there was a little bit of a offshore breeze or onshore breeze, you got to have that cooler air. That's why we get zone 1 growing here. But Washington is probably one of the best places to be, I think, during the 4th of July too. And yes, it does rain here almost every 4th. For those of you, if this is your first time in Washington and it's 90 degrees on the 4th of July, something's wrong. Something's off. Because it usually doesn't start getting sunny around here until, July 5th, 6th, 7th? I don't know. What do you guys think? Hope everybody's having a great 4th. Parties are on. People are drinking. Actually, I don't know if anybody's drinking. I hope everybody stops drinking who's drinking right now, because drinking kills you. Drinking alcohol just kills you. And I don't want to be a bummer. I'm not going to go off on that tangent on this live, but I watched somebody drink alcohol all the way every day and saw how long it takes to kill and saw the changes the body goes through. And boy, there's nothing good about putting alcohol in our system. No, I'm all for having a couple beers here and there. I might have a couple beers today. It's 90 degrees. We got to celebrate something when it's hot on the 4th of July. But be safe. Do lots of fireworks. Show your kids how to do fireworks. I haven't been able to show my kids how to do fireworks the last few years. Timing hasn't worked. And I think fireworks they're looked at these days as not that cool. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Are fireworks political these days? I know everything is political, but I just think one day of the year you should be allowed to do really loud. And I know animals. Lester is not into the 4th. He was into the 4th until he was about 3. Well, actually, until he helped me raise that female dog, Rainy. He was fine with fireworks. When I got him as a puppy, his first 4th of July went to what I consider my adoptive parents' lake place out near Hood Canal, Dewado area, I think, maybe. Tied him to a fence post about 25 yards from the fireworks, and he was scared for about 5 minutes, but then throughout the course of the evening he got used to the loud noises and he was totally fine with fireworks from then on, until last year. We had that puppy Rainy. She was running him ragged, riding the razor's edge with raising a dog with me, and we lost him for probably 30 minutes. He was a good 500 yards away, hiding in the bushes. Thankfully, Rainy came to us, to our calls, and we found him. So I understand animals. It sucks having animals during the 4th of July who don't like fireworks, but we used to put my second marriage, my wife and I used to put our golden retriever into as soundproof room as we could get him. He would still, he would just know there were fireworks going on. But anyway, dogs, fireworks, everything political. It's all political. Everything these days seems to be political, and again, nobody's talking. So the point of this regular scheduled broadcast. I'll be doing the show every, 3 times a week, 6:15 a.m. That's a little bit more of a specific, we're going to watch the markets. We're going to trade for paper trade. We're going to paper trade for an hour, hour and a half, whatever. And look how, the daily media, the news, the outputs from the media, how they affect markets. And, I'm going to show people some things from a different perspective. I think, I don't know, it might be super boring. It might just be my undiagnosed autism mind that thinks it's really interesting how everything kind of makes sense if you look at it close enough, because it really does. But you got to look at it really close and kind of focus in on it. And I think I used to be considered having a short attention span. I mean, I was diagnosed ADD when I was a sophomore in high school. When I was at Bellarmine, I just wasn't getting good grades at all, ever. I just didn't want to do anything that had to do with school. I mean, I know exactly why, but it is what it is. But the attention spans are not really long enough for people to kind of grasp a concept these days. We all have little bits and pieces of a lot of things, but think about, what have you ever really just sat down and decided, I'm going to learn more about something? Or when was the last time you chose to do that? I know I haven't chosen to do it for many things. I know a lot about a little, I know a little about a lot versus a lot about a little. Just always wanted to stay interested. And boy, on the 4th of July, my experiments came out. Maybe some of you saw a couple of my fireworks shows. It took me 8 hours to set up. Lasted approximately 30, 45 minutes. Nailed the finale one year, though. Oh, it was a doozy. So, anywho, well, the traffic is going a little bit. There actually are still a few people left on the roads today. So, as we creep towards the end of this year, I can't believe we're already creeping towards the end of a year, to be honest with you. 2025 is right around the corner. And I think everybody who runs into this or plugs into this, I don't think there's any denying that something is off. Something is extraordinarily different about the world, about how the world works, about society, just people in general. There's a real bitterness out there in the world. And for the life of me, every time I think I have a grasp on kind of what it is, something else just tweaks me a little bit. And well, it still might be a part of that. It's just different. So my goal, and you'll kind of learn, there's a common theme to why I'm doing this. I mean, for one, I'm doing this because it's just the way of the future. I mean, platform sales business like this, whether you're running a business or a program or a show or whatever, this is the way people are going to communicate more in the future. There's nothing we can do about it. All the kids do it, and we saw it happen. I mean, come on, Gen X. I'm hoping that Gen X is going to enter these conversations and want to expand on some topics. And I think we can get a two-way going here. Meaning not what you think, but you can connect to these broadcasts. If you have a video, on your phone, I'm literally doing this from my iPhone. I'll have a little studio set up at home where I do the editing and the back end post-production work on some of the projects I'm doing. But when I got injured bad. 3 car accidents in less than 2.5 years. I was not going to be able to move around like I did in my 20s and 30s. Turning 50 last month, it was rough. It was kind of rough. But I just made up my mind that I was going to have to transition to a business or some profession that literally, if I'm in front of the computer, I'll be able to do it. And so that's what I'm doing. We're growing this. And I think this broadcast, if we do it correctly, we're going to get more people talking. We're going to get, because we need to talk. With this election coming up, nothing that's said in the media can be believed. In fact, almost nothing. I don't want to get to this point quite yet, but the amount of lying that's taking place, the amount of slandering and defaming of people, the cancel culture, the accusing somebody of sexual assault or accusing somebody of violence. Yeah, there have been some people that are justifiably accused and probably justifiably prosecuted, but there are many who are not justifiably accused. There are many who have been accused. It's just basically being used to silence someone else. Whether it be silence your political opponent. I mean, look what's going on in Washington with Trump, with Biden. We don't know what is real. I've always been a person who takes in media from kind of both sides of the coin. The most basic understanding of that would be like Fox and CNN. I think those are the two mainstream, just political, Republican, Democrat. That's the epitome of the example of the different leaning news outlets. But I used to trust the media also. I used to trust the person delivering the nightly news, whether it be national or local or whatever. I trusted Kathy Gertzen and Steve Poole and, all the great people in Seattle. I trusted all of them. I trusted, the nightly news. Who was that? Like Dan Rather, Peter Jennings. When those guys delivered news, I trusted that what they were saying was actually the news. And somewhere along maybe the last, 10 years, 15 years, because I'll be honest, I didn't watch a lot of news. I wasn't really overly plugged in to the political landscape, maybe with 6 months left in election season, like most people, kind of a bandwagon election fan, I guess you would say. Because like I said, I've always really considered myself an independent. And I'd like to elaborate more on that, but the news at some point took on a different landscape. It took on a different meaning, a different purpose. And obviously, yes, I think a lot of that took place when Trump first won his election in 2016. And then I think it was just exponentially ramped up from there. There was just a bigger step taken to, destroy him or slander and defame him to the point that why would you ever want to elect or do business or anything with a person who has been accused of all these things? Well, we got to remember, folks, that accusations are just what they are. They're accusations. And if you're not proven in a court of law, the court of public opinion, I'm sorry, it's not cool. A lot of lives get ruined really quickly when you start telling lies and expanding on stories or theories. And look, Trump started it. I think Trump was the one who spurred this on because he was just so quick to, kind of say the unsaid. I've been accused of being that type of person too. I have been accused of just kind of being too upfront, honest. I've always been that guy. I've always just kind of worn my emotions on my sleeve and said what's on my mind. I probably would have been considered on the spectrum as a young kid. I mean, if I'll show you some pictures of me that I kind of found after my mom died and from my grandma, of me as a little kid, and I was an awkward little insecure little weirdo. I was a nerd. I did not have many friends. I stuttered and couldn't really didn't have a lot of confidence. It turned out that, my mom and my dad were kind of the primary reasons behind being so insecure and being ill-confident, because I had abusive parents who their entire lives, basically, they know how to slander people. They know how to talk shit or have, say things that are horrible. And they learned it from their parents. And we're a society full of toxicity that's been handed down from generation to generation. All we can do is wake up the next day a little smarter than the previous day. That's really all you can do. And if you can't wake up the next day learning from your mistakes, learning that, if you touch the stove, you get burnt. If you say things you shouldn't say, you're going to get burnt. Those who don't learn kind of get left behind, I guess. I just try to get a little smarter every day. So if I can learn from my mistakes, keep moving forward, and everybody else can do the same thing, we should be able to put this thing back into some sort of order and recognizable place that life has been a lot more fun than this. And I don't know, maybe I'm the only one. Maybe I am. It's really easy to be felt, to feel like you're on an island where people, maybe everybody else's life is great and I'm the only one. But I don't think that's the case, because I know a lot of people. I have had a lot of jobs and had a lot of relationships through different jobs and travels and different adventures I've gone on. I've always been communicated with everybody. Who's everywhere. My wife and my kids nuts. Me talking to so many people, making friends. I never understood that, but I guess everybody has their opinions, and I just liked it more when everybody was friends. Everybody communicated. There were parties or gatherings or I don't know. We've transitioned into a different place. And the only way that we're going to get this thing back on track is if we start kind of finding our commonalities amongst one another. No matter what political party you are, no matter what candidate you support for president, it's kind of turned into if you don't support the current administration, which is super easy to do, you can't say you support Trump still, because you don't, but those are the only choices we have. I mean, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. The people the things I have heard from people that I really considered intelligent, forward-thinking, kind of communicative type people, the things I've heard come out of some people's mouths in the last 5-6 years just blow me away. I mean, it's not real, is it? I mean, do people really hate Donald Trump that bad that anybody who I've never liked Donald Trump. I've always just been the underdog. You've probably heard me say, I've always bet on the underdogs. Well, when Trump and Hillary were up for election, I was pulling for Trump. And I was pulling for Trump because I voted for Ross Perot. So my first vote for Ross Perot and Trump, they just kind of went hand in hand. But I bet somebody 10 grand that Trump would win. And ever since that point, things have just gone to crap. Crime has gone through the roof. The justice system is totally unequal. And is there truly that kind of power that's wielded behind the bureaucratic curtain? Has our government just gotten to the point where it can put its thumb on the scales for everything? Well, we're going to find out, because as this show goes on, and as more people join this, and as I hear more stories from all of you, we're going to start piecing this thing back together. Because all I want to do is get back to a point where everybody's communicating and we're all having fun again. And maybe the kids are a little happier, and there's some cool projects launched, and there's some great reasons to get together and do some fun stuff. That's all I want to get back to. This is not about anything political. This is about helping my kids get some sort of semblance of decency and equality and normalcy back in our society. They got to get their heads out of the screens. And I think a lot of the things that have happened to me, I will just, wow, this guy is literally going to cause a massive accident on the freeway here. Hold on just 1 second. I think he's loaded. What are you doing, guy? Lester, put your seatbelt on. Shit, I don't have my seatbelt on. Whoopsie. Anyway, this is gonna be fun. I want you guys to get your little video set up, whatever it is, your phone, a computer. Starting maybe next week, once I figure out all this technology and everything's working smoothly, and I know I can take a call and it's not gonna like drop the thing off, because nobody likes to watch anything streaming and just have it stutter and disappear, which I did see a little bit of that in the last broadcast. But I want you guys to be able to join in here and we'll have a conversation. This won't always be from the car. I've just always wanted to find a great productive way to use travel time. Travel time was where I basically spent my whole career, because I traveled for a living. My office was my car. So whenever I'm in the car, it's kind of when my brain works the most and I do really my most productive thinking. You would think it would be on an airplane. I tend to not be able to focus as long on an airplane because I'm always looking out the window and kind of daydreaming, because that's just who I am. And I love flying. Went flying the other day with a buddy, hadn't been up in a long time, and it just kind of recharges my batteries. And I'm hoping that more people will start to find some of those things like that help stimulate wanting and believing and happiness, having a little bit of fun. Here it happens again. But yeah, so we'll do this broadcast from here. Sometimes it'll be from my computer, and then if you jump on the show at 6:15 a.m. right now, like I said, that's going to be every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 6:15 a.m. to probably 7:30, 7:45, hour and a half tops, I think. Maybe an hour. I might be limited to an hour just with the Restream services. Got to start slow. You got to start real slow at something and just kind of drip your way into it. But I've been working the last 6 months writing some scripts, writing some screenplays for a TV series, writing some screenplays for some movies that I hope to kind of stimulate what I've learned through a lot of love and fun times and bad times and marriages and divorce and car accidents and lawyers and companies and working on Wall Street and going to flight school and going to LA for a little bit to try to break into the movie business, and all the experiences that I have had since 1974 are basically now floating up in my head, and they all kind of now make a bigger sense as to why we might be in this position we're in. So it's a good thing I took up what I did when I did, getting into the money management business, not so much as in the advisory business, although I will be working in the advisory space. I will be managing money directly for my own fund, and there'll be more on that. I don't think it's going to launch until next year, because that is something that is not easy to do, and it takes a little time to get up and running and make sure I have all the compliance and I's and T's and all that stuff in the right place before I get that going. But it's going to be fun. We're going to learn some stuff. I hope I'm going to learn some stuff from you guys, because as I share my stories and my experiences and my hypotheticals as to why this might be the case or that might be the case, or Maybe why Apple stock, I think, is going to go down, over 50% at some point soon. We'll talk about that stuff. Cause and effect, Man, it's hot. I can't believe there's this many people on the freeway at 3:45 on July 4th. Why aren't more people just totally blitzed in the sun? Please be careful tonight too, guys. Any drinking today in this heat is going to amplify it by tenfold. God, I'm thankful the kids don't drink that much these days. I don't know about you guys. Do any of your kids? One thing my kids, I think, do stay away from is alcohol. And thank goodness. We did not stay away from alcohol. I remember, late 80s, early 90s, a lot of our gatherings had a lot of alcohol. Mainly a lot of beer. I don't think there was too much liquor. Definitely no hard drugs, for the most part. But today, man, the kids sure know what drugs are. It's like there's all sorts of drugs available. You can order them straight from Colombia or wherever. You can order them from different countries on the dark web. The internet has we are now living, I think, I don't think, I know, but being able to watch it go from our high school days and even in the, into the early 90s, into our 20s, where the internet kind of saw it, the S-curve on the internet hit its saturation peak, and we really started to see a generation that grew up with a computer in their hands, a screen, streaming. Everybody knows how to edit. Everybody knows how to record. Everybody knows how to code these days. Why is it that all the coders tend to be these liberal activists? At least, it just seems that way. Thank goodness for Elon Musk. You got to balance it out somehow. I am sort of liberal in a lot of ways, but I am also fairly conservative in a lot of ways that I think are just kind of normal logic ways. And we'll go there. I'd like to get that discussion going. We used to be able to talk about anything political. I used to be able to sit with all of my friends who were Democrats and all of my friends who were Republicans, and we could disagree on all sorts of stuff. But the conversation would still progress. And every once in a while, there was okay, well, I just agree to disagree. And then you move on. But you're still friends. Why is that not the case anymore? Why can't we have those discussions? And there's a lot of you out there, if you're watching this, I've never shied away from a good debate or discussion or something that may be controversial, but not to an angry way. We just discuss it. You got to learn. I've always prided myself on doing everything I could to help others solve conflict, whether it be at work or in the family or friends, whatever. When people are angry with one another, I've always lent an ear and a mouth to help figure out why it is and how we can all just hey, why don't we just drop these disagreement swords, find the common ground, move on. And I've had people tell me over the years, look, you should get into conflict resolution consulting. You're really amazing at this. And, but it's not, the same rules don't apply. I don't know really what happened. I think it's a lot of people just anybody who doesn't feel like they have a leg to stand on, or how do I put this without offending people? Maybe you're the one for the person that's turning out to be the evil one or the shitty one or whatever. Maybe you made a mistake and oh, wait a minute, maybe I'm not in the right place. I think there's a lot of people that might be in that camp that also just so happen to be the kind of people who don't really apologize for things, or their ego is still up so big. Maybe their ego has been their whole life. Maybe, the person that isn't actually them. Maybe you only know the ego. I mean, I know that has been the case with some of my close relationships, even family members, that, wow, the person that I've known all these years, I've only known their ego. And when you figure out that you've only known somebody's ego, it's kind of scary, especially if that person's close to you or was close to you. And it really gives you the ability to identify those people. Once you're able to kind of put those pieces together, you know, like you get betrayed once and you're like, holy shit, this person is a total fraud. They're just out to scam or whatever. They're not who they say they are. The first time you see that, it hits you hard. You're like, how did I fall for this? How did this person totally fool me? And then you see another one, and then another one, and then another one. And then at some point, you've met and had enough relationships with enough people that it just becomes easy to identify toxicity and identify people that are kind of hiding behind their ego, even if it's not a confrontation. I literally do think I can pick the narcissist out of a crowd of 100 from 50 yards away. If you give me 3 questions, I truly think I can do that. In fact, I think I'm so good at spotting toxicity now and in spotting people that I guess would be considered narcissists. The ones who are always, you know, the manipulative people, the ones who always say the right thing and you know, just know how to push your buttons. I think I've gotten so good at identifying those people that they can actually sense me now. I know that won't make sense right now, but as we continue these discussions, I will tell you the stories about and like exactly how I think you can spot these types of people. The people there, a lot of them are the people that preach meditation and preach like how easy it is to get rid of your ego and find center and be able to, like, you know, a lot of them are the ones who are claiming to be highly centered and put together and elite. That's kind of the first tip off, but it gets way more nuanced than that, and we'll talk about that. I'd love to hear your stories about that. Anything that I bring to the table, I'm going to be bringing to the table my experiences, the things that I have experienced and the lessons learned from them, what I've identified. Yes, it's going to all kind of tie back to, you know, how I think that it has married together and made me the trader and the money manager that I know that I'm capable of doing after all of this time spent in this industry. I mean, if you're forced to, well, you're not forced. I wasn't forced to spend, but I was given an opportunity to get into an industry that had a track record for high compensation. I mean, they got paid a lot of money. And when that kind of money gets put out in front of you, you say, wow, maybe I'll figure that out. So it wasn't that I chose to do it. It wasn't that it was a passion of mine as a kid. It was just, I was given the opportunity to do it. So faked my way through it for a little bit until I started picking up on what's going on, seeing who's running the show, you know, who are the CEOs that are speaking to us at the event, you know, these events, cornering a Wall Street mutual fund manager who's got 30, 40 years experience at a trade show and asking him questions. And, you know, you slowly piece this kind of knowledge together over years and years of just having relationships with people. And the things I've learned are invaluable for many reasons. If you want to trade, making investment decisions, but also if you want to not make a mistake with a relationship, if you want to not make a mistake with a boss, with, you know, a person that you meet, know how to identify when you're being scammed, know how to identify opportunity, know how to make money with money. The things I've learned are invaluable. And I hope to share those all with you guys. We're just going to, as you can tell, this isn't scripted, not doing much preparation for these, hoping to keep them on a track that is going in a direction, and that direction is more unity and communication. it's a lot of people I'm very, very grateful for in this world over the last 30 years. You know, the parents, a lot of my friends' parents who were like surrogate family to me. You know, when we were kids, it seemed like everybody was in and out of each other's houses. You know, if you were in and out of my house, you didn't see my parents. It was kind of like I lived by myself. You might have saw my sister or my mom sitting on the couch every once in a while. But the families that open their doors and let us kids just come in and you know, provide experiences for us and a safe place to have fun, you know, that was invaluable for kids who had shitty parents. But just invaluable for kids. And I don't think anybody feels that way anymore. I know a lot of kids feel like they're lesser because of all this slander and, you know, saying that if you support one person, you know, you're a vile, evil Christian. If you support this person, you're a pedophile, sex offender. I mean, I have heard it all. It's like everybody had something bad to say. This is not a place to say anything bad. This is not a place to talk shit. This is not a place. I don't want to get you to join. You know, I don't want anybody to join this call and bring anything to the table like, you know, yeah, and them and they and thus. You know, no pronouns allowed here. You know, no blaming. I was taught early on to accept responsibility for stuff. You know, and if you were coached by Roger Bird, there's a lot of you out there who were coached by Roger Bird. You know, that was one of the first men that I looked up to as like a mentor, as a person that, you know, you look at Roger Bird and you say, yeah, I want to be like that guy. You know, all of the men back in our lives, back in the 80s, you know, I looked up to Mr. Street. I looked up to Mark Ross. I looked up to, what was his name? Mr. England, you know, the junior high school counselor. Mrs. Warswick, she wasn't, I could have gone either way with Mrs. Warswick. Mrs. Bill in band, you know, teachers were good. Glad I got to have Lance Hester teach me as a junior in high school, or you know, I don't think he was much older than me, but boy, he got his teaching certificate early. But I mean, I could go on and on and on, and I will. There are some people that I want to publicly thank for being there and providing the relationship and the mentoring and the guidance and the teaching of skills. You know, Scott and Mary Wilkins, you know, Scott taught me how to machine and how to build mechanical parts and fix anything. And, you know, his son, Steve, and his skills. I mean, those are like some of the most mechanically inclined, skilled people I know in this world. Scotty Lateral's parents, Bob and Jan, you know, and Scotty, learning how to work on cars and learning how to freaking turn wrenches and fix my own car at his place. Just building relationships and learning skills through getting to know people and having discussions and learning their stories. You got to learn more people's stories. When I get an opportunity to sit down with somebody and just hear about them, learn about their story, I enjoy that. I've always enjoyed that. But I guess I naturally have empathy. I don't know why I'm one of the only ones, but I naturally have the empathy emotion and I care about other people. That these days is pretty rare. And not only is it rare, by caring about other people, you then like go out of your way to do things for other people. I can't tell you how many times it's bitten me in the ass trying to help somebody. Got a couple of great stories about that. So catch the morning broadcast. This is it. I'm almost at my destination. Join me for the morning broadcast. We'll be doing this, you know, off and on. I'll try to find some sort of a schedule with this at some point. Right now, it's just kind of when I'm doing my commute on the freeway. If there's traffic, they'll be a little bit longer. And if I got a short trip, they'll be a little bit shorter. But hey, there it is. Have a happy 4th. We'll talk to everybody again next time. You ready, Les? Yeah, we're here. June bug skipping like a stone. Come on. Duggy dude. Like the sunglasses? Dug them out of the back of the car and I figured out Randy chewed off the fucking end.